last I looked, my profile is still going on Airbnb with now $9 million income and over 8,000 reviews. Like, it's just nuts. And if you can streamline everything through one process, bloody fantastic. But
what's up, everybody? My name's Mike Sjogren, here with my co-host
Emmanuel Pani.
We're part of a group of specialized real estate investors you've probably never heard of.
We didn't start with deep pockets or wealthy families, and we don't rely on 401ks, mutual funds, or traditional real estate investing.
In fact, many of us don't even own the properties that fund our freedom. If you ask the money experts out there, they'd say what we do is impossible, yet it's happening every single day.
It's happening through a new niche called short-term rentals.
We are Short-Term Rental Nation, and these are our secrets. What's going on, STR Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Short-Term Rental Secrets. I am your host, Mike Sjogren, here with my main man and co-host, Mr. Emmanuel Pani. What's going on, E?
What's up, brother? How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Again, I'm just living the dream, man.
Yeah, I mean, I again, and I say this every week, I need to move in the summer to somewhere that is not as hot as Florida. We've been clocking high 90s with 90% humidity. You know what the worst part is? I still feel obligated in a sense to kind of dress professionally when I go meet people. And now between wearing a mask and having to wear a long sleeve shirt with 95 degrees and humidity, I literally have to change after every appointment because it looks like I went swimming after every single appointment. So it's not very pleasant. So my wife loves me for all the extra laundry I'd be making her do. So yeah, I might have to move up there just to save my marriage so that I don't, drive her crazy with all this laundry. But anyways, that's not really important. I am beyond excited for this interview today. I actually have my notebook out. So as you guys are getting ready, you might want to take out your notebook or whatever you do to take notes. Because I have a feeling that this one is going to be, it's going to be good.
Yeah, for sure. So without further ado, today's guest, Julie George, who I think we met 2 or 3 years ago. We were panelists on a discussion for like a virtual short-term rental summit, which was really cool. And I was blown away by how she had scaled her business and just the way she operated. And I was really, really impressed. And so Julie George, she is the author of The $1 Million Host, and she's now a consultant in the short-term rental industry. She listed her first property on Airbnb in 2016, and less than 3 years later, she was managing 130 properties on Airbnb for property owners and had amassed in excess of $8 million in bookings. And in late 2019, she sold her property management business to a larger company. She is now considered one of the world's leading experts in short-term rentals and consults other budding entrepreneurs how to build a successful business in the sharing economy. So, Julie, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you.
hi guys, thank you for inviting me. And Emmanuel, I can relate to you. The Florida weather is very similar to where I'm from. I live in Queensland, Australia, right near the Great Barrier Reef. And everybody sweats here too.
Yeah. Actually, you have way bigger and more terrifying animals there. So when it comes to this comparison, I'm actually very happy to be in Florida. Which you see, like, it's immediate. Like, once you change your perspective, you immediately become grateful for where you are in life. I'm like, I wouldn't want to be in Australia with all the craziness you guys have out there. So I'm like, I'll take my heat and just my old people here in Florida. They're not as scary as they sound, I
think our crocodiles would outdo your alligators any day.
Guaranteed.
Yes. So, Julie, you want to kind of take us back to 2016 and basically how did you end up getting into the short-term rental game?
Yeah, great question. And one of my favorite stories to tell, to be honest, it's amazing to think it was only less than 4 years ago. I had a 1-bedroom, fully furnished apartment. It became available. I had a tenant that had moved out after 10 years long-term leasing. And I thought, I wonder what all this fuss is about. What's this Airbnb phenomenon everybody's going on about? So I decided to put the Wi-Fi on, put some linen in and throw it up on Airbnb. I went from $240 a week. So we're talking weekly rents in Australia, $240 a week to $600 a week on Airbnb. And that was my aha moment, where as working as a real estate broker and working in a very flat real estate market, I thought there's got to be opportunity here for other investors wanting a better return. Short-term rental property management business was born.
I love it. I love it. So from that point, you got your first listing up and running. You were blown away by the amount of cash flow that it generated. What was the next step for you? Did you start reaching out to some of your previous clients, or were you kind of walk us through that process?
Well, and this is another exciting story. So I guess the idea was churning in my head, but I guess what we're all facing is how do we get the next property? And so as a broker, I was showing a lot of investors through these properties, and they were all looking for cash flow positive properties. Now, I tried not to laugh out loud when they said that, because there just weren't any. But I said, look, let's go and find, there was one lady in particular. She'd flown up from Sydney. She was coming to look at the cheap real estate in my market, which it is very cheap. I mean, a 1-bedroom property you could purchase for about $100,000. So the properties were pretty cheap. She wanted one that was going to make her instant cash flow. I said to her, let's go have a look at 6 of them. Choose the one that you like the best, the one that you would like to holiday in yourself. Because that's part of the bonus of owning these properties, of course. And then I said to her, all right, buy this property, let me furnish it for you, and I'm going to charge you a fee for that. Let me manage it for you, and I'm going to charge you another fee for that. And of course, I'm going to collect the commission on the sale. So cha-ching, 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 boom, there's a property on my portfolio. And this woman was so impressed with the returns on that property through Airbnb. She actually called me only 6 months later and said, do it again.
Yeah, I love that.
Best. Yeah. And I love that story, because that's how I view my business, right? And it's very similar. I'm also a licensed real estate agent. I'm not quite a broker yet, but licensed agent. I have a property management business, right? So to me, it's that whole vertically integrated business that it's so possible with this whole like shared economy that we're kind of living through now, because you can kind of like, and then you can put your car on Turo and rent the car on Turo. So you're renting them the place plus the car. So it literally, you can do everything at once. So did you have a hard time convincing your investors about doing the Airbnb model, or was it as simple as like, I cash flow now, this is all I have to show you, come over to the dark side, or how did this work?
It did take a little bit of convincing in the beginning, Emmanuel, to be honest. I guess what I did, and this is one of the tips that I give anybody that's looking to start off in this business, is to really establish yourself as being the guru, the Airbnb expert, the short-term rental king or queen of your area. Now, to do that and to establish that credibility and to get that recognition from the locals, I wrote a lot of articles for magazine. Well, actually, when I say a lot, I only wrote four articles for a magazine, glossy magazine, put together a really good website, got some great business cards, just really gave that professional image, and got out there and promoted like that. Once I had 3 or 4 properties on board, and I got those testimonials and that proven income statement, and was able to show the transaction history and go, hey, look at this. Then the business started rolling in even more. But it was a bit tricky to start off with, but hey, there's all fun and games.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing I definitely want to talk about, because I find that there's almost like 3 different types of short-term rental hosts or managers, right? The folks that have like 1 or 2 listings and they're just making a little side income, and that's totally fine. And then there's like the 5 to call it 20. And then there's the folks that go from 20 up to hundreds of properties, right? And at each phase of that, I feel like the business kind of shifts. Yeah. So if you kind of want to walk us through that, and when you get to the point where you're like, okay, well, I need to start building teams and processes and systems if I want to keep scaling like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I learned the hard way. I mean, I even though it was only 4 years ago, there wasn't a lot of assistance out there. There wasn't a lot of guidance or mentorship like there is now. So I basically went along the lines of setting well, I always wanted to work on my business, not in it, because I knew that that was the secret to success. I didn't want to get bogged down in a job that I was creating for myself. So as soon as I got to 10 properties that I had listed, and I was making a lot of beds every day, and I'm not a good cleaner. I'm terrible at making beds, let me tell you. I then hired somebody who was really good at that sort of stuff. So I was able to keep going out marketing, finding new properties, while somebody else did the labor intensive, making the beds, meeting the guests. And it was probably then that I started recruiting. So for every 10 properties, I would put on what I called a property host. And I can go into more detail on those people if you like, but then I got to the point where I had probably about 50 properties. And then I started looking to employ administration staff. So I ended up, when I sold the business, when I had 130 properties, I ended up having 2 area managers and a receptionist and admin staff. And then I had 14 property hosts. So I guess if you can think every 10 properties or so, another person coming on.
Okay. So in your we send everybody this little thing of questions, right? So in there you had 14 contractors. So those are your property hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And just for those like people that want the nitty and gritty, how were they compensated on a salary, on a percentage of your reservations?
Yeah. Okay. So here, and my biggest issue, guys, is that I'm going to overshare. So pens and paper at the ready, because here's the numbers and here's the breakdown. So I was charging out. So first, I've got to let you know what I was charging my property owners. So I was charging them 25% of the Airbnb payout. Now that is really important, the word, the payout, because we all know what Airbnb or booking.com or those companies are like. You just never know how much they're going to charge and what they're going to take. So whatever money we took in, we took 25%. My property hosts, the contractors that I took on, I gave those people 6% plus the full cleaning fee. So we were collecting the full cleaning fee from the guests, 25% from the owner. I was paying out 6% plus the cleaning fee. So at any one time, I could quickly calculate that at 19% coming in was mine, and mine to run the business, get the consumables like the tea, coffee, waters, that type of thing, toilet paper, short supply these days. But it was a very easy equation. And it wasn't one that came up easily. I actually started off paying at 8%, and I worked that math didn't quite work out. So I ended up having to recalculate and bring that to 6% to the contractors.
I like that. I like giving them a piece of the action, because it keeps everybody in alignment with the growth and the profitability of the business, right?
It really gave them ownership. And how I structured the business was that they, as contractors, were building up a business under my umbrella. So I was seen, especially in the media and as a public relations side of things for my local community, I was seen to be mentoring their small businesses, building up their short-term rental business under my business, which was called Host My Home. And we got some great press just because we were actually helping these people build their own businesses. Those guys, my contract was with those people. Some of them had up to 23 properties. They were earning a hell of a lot of money. I nearly swore on your show, sorry. But it was super exciting. So they were earning like $2,000 to $4,000 a week out of what we were bringing in. Some of them would then employ cleaners underneath them, because once they had done the novelty of cleaning those toilets wears off for everybody. So they would then employ others, but my contract was with them. So the buck stopped with them. If anything went wrong with the property, guest complaints, bad reviews, it was on those contractors.
I love that.
And how did you handle that? Like, let's say that they did get a bad review. Because that's funny. That's something that we never talked about, because we never got to a guest that had quite so many units. So what was there like a one and out, or like strike one, strike two policies, or how did you handle
well,
that?
it was a really, I guess I was able to really monitor their performance on the guest reviews coming in. You know, we would always say to them we wanted 4 stars or better. If we consistently saw that there was an issue that they weren't showing up on time, because I actually got them to meet and greet in person as well, which is very different to a lot of other property management companies. But that's where a lot of property owners were happy to give me the properties, because I was eyeballing the guests every time. Well, not me, but my co-hosts were. So they, I guess if we got reviews saying, look, the host didn't show up on time, we don't know where they are, I would actually say, I don't like the term punish, but I would actually take that property from their portfolio, and until they could show me that they were able to cope with that workload, had a good business plan in place, it wouldn't be until then that I would replace that. But if they had a really good system in place and they really wanted to expand their business and they could cope with that work, they were getting good reviews, I would pile on the properties. And that's how one girl, she was working for me, had 23 properties.
I love that. I love that. I had a question. I lost my train of thought because I was taking some notes on something else. So on more of the, call it account management side with the actual investors, now, were you still handling that, or did you put that on the co-host?
I couldn't give up the financial side of it. I kind of like counting the money.
That does get addicting. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, isn't it great? That transaction history, when every day you pull it up and it was, you know, Mike, when I got that $1 million income, man, I thought I was, you know, pretty special. When I got to $8 million, holy hell. So, you know, I could have called this book Multi-Million-Dollar Host, but anyway.
That's 2.0. We'll put out a revised copy.
But yes, so my main role within the business when we got to the bigger scale was that I would look after all the finances. I would oversee we were running a trust account. So we were, we were set up as a real estate agency. In Australia, we've got very strict laws. If you're collecting money on behalf of anybody, you need to run a trust account. So I was the licensee for that. I would meet with the auditor every month or so. That was like poking a stick in my eye. And I would do the hiring, I would do the firing, all the yucky stuff. But to be honest, I had 3 other ladies that worked in my office, and they would all answer the phone as Julie. So we had everybody acting and operating through one Airbnb account as Julie. And yeah, it was kind of interesting, but a lot of that single white female going on in our office.
Now, did you at any point branch out away from Airbnb onto other platforms, or did you just stick to Airbnb?
I did, and it was bloody awful, let me tell you. I'm sorry to those people out there that love the booking.coms or the HomeAways. Maybe it was just me, but I didn't have the greatest experience. And I found that by being 100% loyal to Airbnb, and trust me, I'm not working for them, I'm not getting kickbacks from them. In fact, I got a key ring from them last year, but I know, winner. But I just find that their system was without a doubt the best. And when it came to things like making claims, and I know that's a controversial issue, damages, that type of thing, we never lost out. We had systems in place, we had processes, we would always collect the money. It was just faultless. So I did venture out to try those other booking platforms, and I quickly scurried back to my 100% Airbnb.
Did you have your own website?
Sorry, Emmanuel, say that again.
I just want to ask one quick question just to clarify, because I found that most of my students, they're so anxious to get onto all of the platforms. And I tell everybody, I'm like, listen, Airbnb is, and again, they have their quirks, they're not perfect, but I will tell everybody that it is by far the easiest platform to use. Like in most places, they pay the taxes for you, they collect the payments, they streamline everything. And it's like the training wheels. And for the first year and a half, 2 years of my business, I wasn't anywhere else. And I tell my students, I'm like, keep it simple. Like, you're making money. Don't overcomplicate it. Because then you got to add, once I got out on the other ones, I needed staff to make sure that all the payments were going through. And I had to do different screening procedures and rental agreements. And it just adds layers of complication. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Totally agree with you. And especially with the one thing I've noticed in the COVID time, you know, Airbnb didn't handle things so great. And I'm the first to admit that. However, they were very, very fair with the guests. Now, at the end of the day, it's the guests who are going to make that choice. Where are they going to make their next booking? They're going to go back to Airbnb. So as much as it frustrated a few hosts as well with what Airbnb did over the COVID times cancellations, just keep that in mind, guys, that, you know, it's at the end of the day, they're going to have the people coming to them. They're the number one people, you know, people refer to it as an Airbnb business. It's a short-term rental business, but you can't beat that. And, you know, they've been amazing to me. So, yeah, jump on board, master that one platform before you want to go and branch into others.
My question kind of off of that was whether or not you had your own website or if your own website just redirected them through Airbnb.
Yeah, I did have my own website, but it was any marketing like that with the website was always promoted towards property owners. I was never targeting guests. And if people did find my website and I did have all the properties listed on there, but it would always link back to my Airbnb booking platform. So if they did want to make a booking, I encouraged it through Airbnb. Occasionally I took direct bookings, but it didn't sit 100% right with me. There wasn't the comfort level knowing that the host guarantee was there. You know, you couldn't get reviews on your platform. I mean, last I looked, my profile is still going on Airbnb with now $9 million income and over 8,000 reviews. Like, it's just nuts. And if you can streamline everything through one process, bloody fantastic. But my business model, it was any marketing I was doing was always to property owners to say, come on board. So, you know, occasionally I'd get a disgruntled guest who might give me a bad Google review. You know what? That was the best thing ever, because they would say how picky we were and how we demanded that they pay money for a towel that had tanner on it or whatever it might be. Property owners love that. They looked at that Google review and went, wow, Julie will look after my property if she's going to chase the guests down like this. So, you know, it's all in the way that you structure your business model.
Love that. This is gonna be more of a like specific question to where I am right in my life. But I'm like, hey, I might as well I'm gonna take advantage, right? So you have in here in your questions that you had a special way of approaching other real estate brokers. Can you kind of talk about that? Because
yeah.
I know I spoke to one of Mike's guys last week, and what he was talking about was the hardship that he was experiencing getting other real estate agents, professionals to actually work with him. So maybe you can enlighten as to how you reframe that conversation in a way that it was, I think you said it was an advantage to them rather than you competing against them.
Exactly. You've just got to get your mindset right. When you're approaching these real estate agents, you can't be seen to be the competition. You've got to be complementing their business. What can you do for them? And that's what you've got to go in with that mindset. What can I do for you, Mr. Real Estate Broker, to make your life easier? Now, I would approach property. If I saw a property that was on the market, maybe, you know, sitting there for 6 months, fully furnished, the ideal holiday home, I would approach that broker and say, look, how about I do up an appraisal for you, a report showing the income that can be made through short-term rentals for this property. And so with that, I created a sales tool for that broker to go out to property investors and be able to hopefully sell the property. Secondly, I would say to them, would you like to approach the property owner about listing the property on Airbnb or short-term rentals while it is for sale? Make some money while it's for sale. We will clean the property on a regular basis. Now, that's where their eyes really lit up. We will clean it. We will keep it we will get it ready for open homes. We will have it sparkling and smelling beautiful for inspections. And hopefully with that investment, like the investors will see the income flowing in, and they're going to be able to, really think that this might be a great opportunity to buy a property, live in it part-time. And especially where I live up near the Great Barrier Reef, a lot of people would buy properties as holiday homes, vacation rentals, that they would only come and stay in for a few weeks or a month or so for the year. The rest of the time, we would look after it for them. So I guess it's all in the approach to the real estate agents, but go in, guys, think about how you can help them. And I promise you that thought process and that mindset will bring back the work tenfold.
I love that. And did you offer any commissions to them for any deals that you closed or any clients that you picked up?
So that was something I was really considering in the beginning to, I thought I'd have to throw out these finder's fees or kickbacks. In the end, I didn't at all. All I said to them was, if they come to me for on-site for the management of their property, if they want to sell, I will refer back to you. But of course, we all know as soon as you earn so much money on short-term rentals, you're not wanting to sell. So unfortunately, I didn't get many back, but it was just a win-win. The brokers who were not offering long-term leases themselves, they were the ones that I really approached because they didn't have a vested interest in keeping the management.
So it becomes a referral-based business, as you and I have talked about offline several times, where again, once you start to get results for a couple clients, it just snowballs. And you said something that I want to highlight, because I tell my students this as well, kind of identifying who your ideal property owner is. And at the beginning, you mentioned that you were targeting investors. And that's the way that I built my business quickly, because you have vacation homeowners, which is fine. You can make money with them as well. Then you have investors, like property investors, that are looking for returns. Now, when you generate a return for an investor, they're already thinking, how can I get the next property? And they know other investors that are constantly buying property. So when you focus on that niche, they may own 2, 3, 4, 10 properties, and all of their friends own 2, 3, 4, 10 properties. So it can just multiply very quickly.
Yeah, that's right. So that was my number one target group, investors. Number two, and this was early on in the piece, so I'm not sure if I would go this route again, but I was looking at homeowners who were going on extended holidays and wanting to do something with their property. I remember there was one particular couple who, and I honestly probably would never take this property again now because it was pretty hard work. But at the time, it was a Queenslander house, which is a wooden house. It attracted a lot of dust. It attracted a lot of insects. A lot of wildlife would come in the doors. These people were going to Africa for a 6-month break. I think they viewed my business as a bit of a babysitting sort of business where I'd be able to check their mail, keep the security of the place. We started making them $700 a week. And it got to the point where their property was so unique and it was such a bizarre property that people wanted to come and stay in the rainforest and see the green frogs and look at the beautiful butterflies and, scary snakes. But I ended up having to contact them in Africa and say, keep traveling because I've got too many bookings. You can't come back yet. So, and it was just such a win-win situation. So I look back on some of the ways that we've impacted on people's lives, homeowners that we were able to help make some money on their own while they took a vacation. Hosts, you could offer relief hosting services, and that's something that we did a lot over the Christmas break. There are a lot of property hosts out there that need a break themselves. Guys, put out a Facebook post saying that you're able to co-host while someone goes on holidays. So, but investors are always going to be the winner because they are the quickest ones to scale up with, for sure.
So what does the typical day of a now kind of like worldwide Airbnb consultant, right? Because would you say that that's what because you're not a host anymore, right? Would you still consider yourself a host? Okay. Yeah, so what does your day look like? Like what
Well, I can tell you today, it's 3 a.m. in Australia at the moment, but that's the best time to talk to you guys. So I'll just keep my eyes open. But so today's not looking great, Emmanuel, but hence say yesterday, it's a lot of media interviews. It's a lot of Zoom meetings, one-on-one. Prior to COVID, I was doing a lot of public speaking at conferences, getting up and talking to maybe groups of real estate agents wanting to diversify their businesses and just explaining how they could introduce short-term rentals into their business. So it's a lot of that type of thing. I actually sell a lot of forms and documents and all the stuff that I used in my business, like appointment forms for property owners or to employ people or contractors. I've got those on my website. So I do a lot of that sort of thing as well. But I just get a real kick now out of seeing other people succeed. And it's, you know, this morning I was talking to somebody who has only got one property, but we were talking about how to get more. And, you know, regardless of whether we do business together or not, I still want to stay in touch with them in 6 months. I want to see how they're going. I just want to see how they, you know, how it changes their lives.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love that because that's kind of how Mike and I feel, and kind of the whole point of this is kind of to give back and to kind of empower people. You're familiar with Mike and like how he went from like kind of creating this whole enterprise to retire everybody, and now everybody's working and everybody's happy, and he gets to go play golf with his kid, and you know, that's like the real stuff, right? Like the important stuff. So was this your idea at the beginning? Like, so as soon as 2016 happened and as soon as you went from making, what was it, $250 to $600 a week?
Yeah.
Did you go, like, did you have like a emit type of moment that you're like, okay, I got to create a business so I can sell it in 3 to 4 years?
No, it's funny that you asked that because, you know, it blows me away even where I am now. And thank goodness I sold the business 6 months before COVID hit. Maybe I could be a fortune teller now. But
yeah, it's a good time.
But no, to be honest, Manuel, my first goal was to be able to make myself enough money to give up my day job as a broker, because it wasn't lighting my fire. Sitting in open houses with nobody coming through, it wasn't my idea of fun. So that was my first goal. Second goal was to make that $1 million. That was my target. Once I hit the $1 million, I wrote the book about it because I was getting asked the same stories over and over again. How did you do it? What did you do? What's the background? What are your secrets? I wrote it all down. The book came out, went bestseller, and then I guess it attracted a lot of people coming to me saying, look, I'd like to buy your business. And my light bulb went off then and thought, you know what, I think I've done my time managing properties, because it is stressful. Anybody who says that this business isn't, and it's 24/7, even if you are the owner and you've got a manager in place, you are still responsible for a hell of a lot of properties, a hell of a lot of guests. You know, at any one night, I could have had 500 guests that I was responsible for because they were staying in Julie's Airbnb in Cairns. So it was nice to be able to think that I could remove that stress from my life and to be able to have that freedom to travel, to do whatever I want, and to pay off all my mortgages was a bit of a bonus as well. So, so no, it kind of was an evolving dream. And I guess I'm at that point now where I think, what's next? And for me, I guess my next step is helping others. You know, when I can travel again, I'm going to be over your way. I got there twice last year to the States. I'll do a lot more travel and see if I can, you know, hold somebody's hand and help them do exactly what I did.
Yeah, that's lovely. I love that.
One thing I want to bring up real quick, because I remember when I started this business, a lot of my mentors were in traditional real estate investing, and they were like, that's cool, you're making cash, but you're not building any equity. And I was like, well, you don't understand how business works then. Because if you build it the right way with the right systems, you can sell your business. 100%. So maybe just real quick, we don't have to get into the details of transaction, but were there certain things what types of questions were these business folks asking you? What were they looking for in your business to acquire it?
Yeah, so really good question. And I guess this is where I always had that mindset that I was wanting to build a saleable asset. You know, there's no point in the day-to-day cash flow is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but that big payday when you can sell your business, holy moly, that's super exciting. So I guess a couple of things, a couple of tips as well. If anyone's looking to do this, I had all my properties under one profile. That was one thing. And a lot of people asked if that was risky. Well, it's not if you're doing the right thing. So everything under one profile. Lowering your expenses. Don't overcomplicate systems like we were saying before. Keep your software simple. I mean, I was only using a real estate software, Xero accounting, and the Airbnb system. I wasn't using any third-party platforms or, you know, pricing or, you know, that type of thing. I probably would now because I didn't even realize they existed. But keep your costs down. Make sure you've got you're not taking a huge risk as well. You know, I worry when I see a lot of these people that are doing the master leasing or arbitrage, you know, putting a lot of their money up and risking that. I don't personally would, you know, I like to hold on to my money. I don't like to share that with too many people. But making sure that you've got good properties, they're in really good condition. And don't be afraid to get rid of properties, and don't be afraid to get rid of certain property owners. Some of my greatest days in business was to break up with property owners and tell them, sorry, we cannot manage your property anymore, simply because they're a pain in the ass. But hope none of them are watching. But
let's hope they are,
you know,
so they know.
Yeah, good. But it was the whole concept of simplifying, streamlining the business, so that when somebody came knocking, or that the potential buyers came knocking, it was a simple transaction. They also wanted to ensure that I could stay on for at least 6 months. So that was part of the deal, that when I sold my business to this business, Home Time is the name of the company I sold to, amazing company in Australia. I actually had the choice between selling to Home Time and a real estate broker or an agency who came to me. The real estate agents wanted to pay me more money, but I didn't go with them because I wanted to make sure that my baby that I had developed, my business, was going to be looked after and developed and grown. And I guess all the staff were going to be looked after. So I went with the other option. But yeah, I guess, guys, when it comes down to it, the way that we value short-term rental businesses in Australia, so this is where you get your notepads out again, folks, is there's two ways of doing it. The real estate method was to look at the management income for the year and times that by 2.4. Sorry, I just had to make sure I was giving you the right numbers. So management income times by 2.4 for the yearly management income. And then the short-term rental industry way of valuing was your profit times 3. So work out your profit, times that by 3. Somewhere in between those two numbers is the value of your business. So it's really important to always know the value of your business, especially, and have that exit plan in place, because I guess, you know, what is your end goal? You know, do you want to be making beds forever? Do you want to be managing people making beds forever? Or do you want to do something similar to what, you know, the three of us are doing, and educate people, or have that freedom, you know, that big payday when you can sell the business and then have the freedom to go off and play golf every day or whatever you want to do. So it's cool.
I love that.
I don't think I've ever taken this many notes in my life. To bring me back to school. Actually, before you say what you're going to say, Mike, I have just one last question. You brought up that you sold the business 6 months before COVID, and then COVID is here now. We don't have a silver ball or a magic ball, whatever. But where do you see it? And then from your side, as to like an expert between experts, how do you see the Airbnb game looking with COVID, right? Because here in the States, there has been limitations. So when they close down a city, they tend to close down the Airbnbs. They go with it, which to me and Mike doesn't really make sense. But I just wanted to know what your thoughts are, and then where you see the entire business.
I mean, no one could have predicted what we're going through right now. And actually my hearts go out to all my friends in America that, you know, we're getting a lot of media coverage of what's going on over there. And, you know, it's just terrible. So, but I guess my advice, if you're in this industry and you are concerned, I think the best thing you can do at the moment is just hang on. You know, we were speaking with Chip Connolly, who is Brian Chesky's mentor. He was on a call with me and some other people last week. One of his pieces of advice at the moment was to scale down at the moment so that you can scale up when COVID sort of relinquishes. So, and what I mean by that is, if you need to let some properties go at the moment, or if you need to just let some contractors go at the moment, which is heartbreaking, do it, but then have a plan in action that when things are looking that travel's going to increase, people are going to come back to your area, jump back in. I think that the light at the end of the tunnel is that this situation is going to clear the decks of a lot of maybe operators that weren't so solid in the first place. So a lot of people that, you know, are overpricing themselves, or, you know, just, it's going to clear the decks. It's going to return the prices to where they should be on the short-term rental nightly rates. And I honestly think it's, you know, people are going to choose short-term rentals over maybe hotels at the moment. So, you know, when this all changes, because they're going to want their own kitchen, maybe to cook their own meals, that type of thing. So please don't be scared. This is a terrible situation that we're going through at the moment, but I can see a really bright future ahead of us.
I'm so glad that you said that, because that has been my wishful thinking this whole time. So now I'll take it as law because you said it. I'm like, perfect. If Julie said it, it must be true. So it's perfect. Awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be geography by geography. I know the states that we operate in, you know, we've been able to open all the way back up, and our bookings have shot through the roof because people have been cooped up and they're like, I want to get out of the house, you know? So again, I think like you said, if you're committed and you're in it for the long haul, you get creative, right? Like you adjust your marketing if things shift, and you find a way to make it work. You always do. But anyway, so the last question that we ask everybody, and first off, thank you for hopping on at 2:30 in the morning with us and sharing 2 pages of notes with me here, and with our listeners. This has been amazing. But the last question we ask is, what is your number one best secret for success as a short-term rental operator?
Oh, I saved the best question for last. I think not to overthink it. Really just, you know, don't hesitate. Just go out there, get the first property that first property is always going to be the hardest to get. Once you've got it, you're going to figure it out. You're going to make mistakes. Don't sweat the small stuff. Just get in there, have a go, believe in yourself, because you know, you've got a skill. If you're thinking to do this, you love hospitality. Get in there, smile your way through any mistakes, and just enjoy the ride, because it is an awesome way of starting your own little business. Tell the boss to go to buggery. You're not coming back to work, and enjoy it. Build up that saleable asset, sell it, come and visit me in Australia, and we'll have cocktails on the beach.
Cheers.
I love it.
Cheers
so folks, there's been absolute gold on this show today. If people want to get in contact with you, Julie, and grab a copy of your book and keep in touch, where's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so I've got a website, milliondollarhost.com.au. The book is available on Amazon, on all leading bookstores online. And look me up on LinkedIn, Facebook. Happy to friend everybody, because you just never know when I need to come to Florida, or, you know, come and hang out in the cool new hotel of Mike's. So happy to make friends and connections.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. This was amazing.
Anytime.
Awesome. Thanks again, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.